Right, so a little change in the weather today, but it's nice, refreshingly cooler. I can be back to wearing my bee suit rather than wearing a pair of shorts and t-shirt and picking up the odd sting. So what am I doing here? I'm actually trying to be a bit smart and trying to think ahead to next month, because we're going to be into July and August, and that is traditionally the time when we get our dearth, and it's traditionally a time when our bees will bin out the drones. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of drone comb. So because our flow is so strong, and because I'm having to go into each colony and give them space, see what I've done is I've actually removed some frames. I've given them some open empty frames and some frames to build. This is obviously the top of the 5/5, but because this isn't in use at the moment, I've also taken out the queen excluder so that the queen can have the full range. But I've also put in the center for the moment a frame of drawn drone comb. Now that's a lot of drone comb, and I know it's going to draw a lot from these resources, but the flow is on, and I've given them plenty of space to store the honey somewhere else, in other words in the top. And I'm hoping that this queen is a lovely queen. She's a great producer of bees. She's prolific. She's a queen from this year. I'm hoping that she's going to lay this drone frame up, and then she is going to give me some drone comb for later in the year. And the reason why I said before I want it later in the year is because normally in July, when everything calms down at the end of the flow, say the second week of July, the flow finally will finish. It'll carry on a little bit longer this year, but if I can get some drones ready for just over a month, that's 40 days. So by the end of July, these drones I'm making now should still be okay. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed, and what I'll have to do is I'll transfer this one here into one of my drone colonies over there, that big double box, but I'll have to feed it, and I'll have to remove the queen, because it's all right having a queen in it when the queen's happy to have drones, but if she bins those drones out, you do not want to be left kind of with egg on your face. So actually I've made a nuke from this box as well. There's the nuke I've just made. I've got to finish putting that together. You can see they're all nurse bees, the adult bees are flying back. And there they are, they're all back on the front of the nuke. This is prolific colony, so it's basically 15 frames of colony now, and here's the queen. But I'm thinking ahead. I'm hoping that by doing this, I'll have some drones, and the best thing of all is you actually get better open mating of your own stock, because a lot of the natural drones are kind of decreasing in numbers. So if you can augment a few colonies with your favorite drones, with your favorite colonies, with the drones that you really want, there's every chance you'll end up with some good success, because your drones are the only ones for the last few months of the year. In other words, the last of August, July, end of July, August, when you're doing your last mating, they're the ones that are going to be flying around, because a lot of them will have already been binned. It's a little bit of forethought, but it works. So let's put this queen back in. There she is. Off she goes, beautiful. I'm hoping now she'll go straight down. The bees will take a little bit of time before they clean that old drone comb out. It's drone comb from this year actually, but the whole idea was I'm augmenting this colony, and what I'll do is in say 4 or 5 days time, I'll yank this out, and I'm not going to wait till it's capped on. I'm going to put it in another strong colony, and immediate, or depending if there's room in the top here, I'll move that drone comb to the side, because the queen does not like drone comb in the center of the brood nest. She'll lay it up, but you've got to be prepared to move it away. It's just what they prefer and what we found out. This year, I'm already seeing the huge benefits of augmenting my drones properly, and that is managing a drone colony properly. That is collecting some drones for insemination. That is giving that drone colony extra nurse bees, because you need to really feed your nurse bee colonies continuously with nurse bees to supplement them. In other words, even if there's a queen there and there's a queen excluder, and you've got your drones above that fly above that into a drone cage, so you can collect them. Even if you do that, you still need to feed them. You still need to feed them with pollen sub. And I've found that if I give them pollen sub when there's no flow on and plenty of sugar, providing you give them space to build and you just keep that cycle going, there is no problem. They're actually quite able to sustain a lot of drones in one colony, and the drones have been good. I'll talk a little bit about the insemination I've done. So I've actually inseminated, I think 9 queens in total with 3 different attempts. What I've been doing this for is next year and this year already, I'm partaking in a breeding group. So I've been given some larvae from 2 colonies that are extremely interesting. One queen registered 100% Varroa resistant, and the second queen was 87% Varroa resistant. We believe the way forward is to start selecting your best stock, and is to start breeding against Varroa, because we cannot continually treat with pesticides. We cannot continually rely on insecticides in our colonies to do the work that the bees can do. We just need to show the bees, follow their lead, select the best colonies, and do tests. Be smart, use science the best way we can. We're not genetically modifying these bees. We're not doing anything like that. We're just letting the bees show us what their best traits are. So what we're doing this year is we've had these larvae sent to me. They were sent by courier from Belgium. On the morning they arrived, I unwrapped them. I was able to graft the larvae that were in the colony straight away. We're in those 2 frames. I was able to graft the larvae that was in those 2 frames straight away. Then I put the remaining eggs into a queenless colony that has drawn up and brought on those larvae. I'm just going to get out of the way because I'm right in the middle of these bees. But then because of that, I was able to graft over 4 days, and every day I went into that mini nuke. It was one of these mini nukes here that I was sent a frame of. One was the 100% and one was the 87%. But the whole idea is it gave me enough material with the eggs that is in a frame of just the mini plus. That's plenty of eggs if it was laid up, to be able to come in over 2 days and take the larvae of the correct age between 12 and 24 hours old and graft those into cups. So that's what I've done. And what happens now is when those cells are ready, when they are going to start hatching in 3 days, I will then put them into nukes. And that's why I'm making as many nukes as I can, because what I want to do is do 25 to 30 nukes of these queens. Now they're a buckfast queen. I don't know what their honey production is going to be like, but that's what I'm going to have to start coming to terms with. The problem is I'm looking at my beekeeping in a snapshot for the last 10 years. I started off with black bees. I learned an awful lot by having black bees. I learned a huge amount quickly because they're so awful. I learned about pest and disease because I get a lot of it. But then I went into the buckfast line, and I found the buckfast are absolutely amazingly productive. You've got to be on your toes, but they are far better than anything I've ever worked with in my life. So I've gone down that road now, but now I'm going into breeding a bit of buckfast, because I found that the majority of the buckfast I have are pretty piss poor at actually resisting Varroa. And that's why I've learnt insemination this year. I learnt a little bit of it last year, but this year and last winter when I was in Hawaii, I was able to really have one-to-one tuition with Alicia, doing that, learning how to separate the drone semen, learning how to collect the drones, learning to make up some drone banks, learning how to make up all these things. And this year I put it into practice. I haven't had to collect drones for this specific lines I've acquired this year, but what I've done is I've been able to inseminate some queens with drones, exactly how we'll do next year. Because what will happen is those larvae that I've just grafted will open mate in my apiaries, and when they open mate, they will then have a complete cross-section of resistance to Varroa, because not all of them will be resistant to Varroa, but there'll be 1 or 2 colonies that will show extreme high resistance. And by doing Varroa checks on the brood in the autumn, I'll be able to select the colonies and maybe treat the others if I have to, because at the end of the day I've still got to run a business. That's the thing with this work I'm doing. I still have to be very careful, because I've got to pay the bills. There's no doubt about that, but I'm doing it because I believe it's the right thing to do. So I will check these colonies when they are after they're open mated, And then the following spring, I will then put drone comb in to the ones that are 100% resistant or 87% or whatever count we get, and try and start collecting those drones from the high resistance queens. At the same time, I'm hoping I'll have other material sent to me, in other words, some queens that are already 100% resistant, and by that time I'll be able to graft from them and then inseminate them with the drones from my high resistance colonies myself. But we don't know what we're going to get, but we're pretty sure we're going to get 1 or 2 colonies again out of maybe the 10 or 15 that I do that will be good honey producers. It doesn't mean they all will, it doesn't mean they won't. We just have to start somewhere, and this is what we do. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be selecting for the main thing is obviously aggressiveness and honey production. If they're gentle bees and they produce good honey and they're Varroa resistant to a certain degree, that's what we're after. That's what we're going to be doing. So it's all really exciting. I'm so chuffed to be part of this project. I'll fill you in more with details of it later on, but that's what I'm doing now. That's why I've put so much time this year into preparing the ground for this coming season next year, because you're always 1 year ahead with beekeeping. You're always trying to think ahead, and if you don't do that, you'll never get anywhere. You've got to plan all the time. All these colonies I've got here, they're all being split now, so that I can split them now at the end of the flow. Well, split them now at the start of the flow, and then in say 4 weeks, 5 weeks time, I'll split them all again to give me even more nukes. And that is my basis for next year. The colonies I'm raising now will be starting to, I hope next year, have some traits of Varroa resistance, because I haven't been monitoring it properly. That's one of the reasons why I had winter losses. It's not the reason. There was other huge reasons why I had winter losses that we've already discussed. But I don't deny Varroa played a big part. But the big part really came from lack of nutrition at the right time. And that's when the Varroa took over and accelerated enormously. But moving on, I've made the recoveries. I've put in the hours, you know. Just telling you guys out there that that's my plan. I've got a huge amount of work to do for me. I consider this a massive opportunity for me. This is where I'm going to grow. This is where I'm going to be able to learn more, because to get to this level, to be able to inseminate queens, it's not just going to a box, taking out queens and putting them in under the microscope and chucking a load of drone semen in them. The process of insemination is absolutely incredible. You have to have really good queens. You have to have them well fed, which I can do, as you know, which I can produce the well fed queens. I can produce the well fed drones. I can capture the drones. I can have the queens ready at the right time, but that's what you must have. And then when you've got that combination of, you've got the drones ready and the queens ready, you need the skill to actually inseminate your queens and the husbandry skills to care for those queens during the process of insemination, marking them, feeding them, putting them back into a nucleus colony so they don't get killed by other bees until they're ready to start laying. And when they start laying, introducing them to colonies that are queenless. So it's a huge skill set that I've put together, but I've jumped at this because I absolutely love the thought of having even more strings to my bow, because beekeeping, when I first started, was just catch a swarm, put it in the box, put a super on, woohoo, honey. That's all it was. And now I've got to this level. I am so excited about this project, because it's going to lead to other things in the future, and I'll be sharing material with other people long term. It's going to be a huge amount of work that I'm not getting paid for, but it's worth it, because we cannot, as I said before, carry on as we are. People just stopped and looked at their bees and stopped to look at what they're actually achieving by treating. It really isn't the way forward. We have to put ourselves on the line. We have to really try and find a solution to this problem, because Varroa, as you know, is the #1 instigator of problems in the colony. As well as giving the colony numerous viruses, it makes the colony weaker. It induces more swarming. Your bees are not as good, they don't perform as well, they're more susceptible to disease, and everything else that they might suffer from is at a higher level waiting to pounce. If you get European foul brood, if you get American foul brood, if you get chalk brood, all of those things are just lurking when you've got high Varroa counts. And I know that, I've had it, you know. So that does mean that I'm going to be investing a lot more of my time next year into this project. And I'm so encouraged by it, because when I see what other beekeepers who are part of this project have achieved and what they're able to be part of as part of this, their achievements themselves, is quite incredible. We use a software base that is accessible to everybody. It enables us to record all our queens, all our hives, all our colonies, to monitor them constantly with the data we put in. It's a little bit time consuming, but it means everyone can see what is happening, what results we're getting, and then we can say, right, let's cross that one with that one, and then all the pedigrees are shown. Everyone knows what is going on and where, and it means we can share stuff really well. So it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity. I'm even going to be given a breeder number, which is something I'm kind of humbled about, but you kind of have to have it because you've got to do this properly. And what I like about this is a professional group that are completely, totally centered and focused on this project, you know, and it's enormous. It's absolutely enormous, and it's going to change everything long term. You know, the amount of people that are involved in it now, there's been amazing success with the same group in Italy. It's Europe wide. It's now going to be opening up in America. So we're really excited, and everybody is going to do their bit who's taking part. But you've got to do it properly. You've got to do it with professionalism, and you've got to do it with a kind of open mind that you're going to get ups and downs. I know Ian Stepler was this morning talking about ups and downs in his colonies, which is exactly what we're going to get with this project. But we know long term that if we keep going straight on in the direction we want to find, we will win, and we will breed these bees that are going to be Varroa resistant. There's a lot of skeptics. There's a lot of people saying, well, you can't do it. We've been trying to do it for years. I don't deny there's always that kind of pessimism around, but you know, if you don't try, you won't get results. And you have to do this. We have to do it all together. So I'm hopefully going to be able to post some of the work I'm doing on this project, because I want other people to see the benefits. I want to educate people. Not that they're not uneducated. I want them to see for themselves that we have to do this. You know, we've basically screwed up our bees by allowing Varroa into our own countries. And now we're going to have to be smart and help the bees bring out their natural ability to remove the Varroa from the colonies, okay? And this whole project picks up on the fact that bees are resistant to Varroa. They suppress the adult reproducing Varroa. They suppress that female from reproducing. And that's what it's all about. It's identifying that Varroa. It's uncapping. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming, but it works. The results already are absolutely amazing. What we have to do is just amplify everything. All do our bit. There's a lot of people that are treatment free have been doing this similar, but we have to do this in a way that is recordable, and we have to start with actual recorded lines. That's the problem. But we just have to do this in a very professional way to make sure that we can interpret the results correctly and then get the right crosses and then move forward with the next inseminations. And we're going to be using techniques like single drone insemination and multi-drone insemination, which will enable us to be more selective and quicker to select our genetic lines as we do testing following insemination. There's all these techniques I'm learning. It's a lot of work. But as I said before, I'm really excited. I want to spend this whole winter learning, preparing all my equipment for next year. I'm going to make bigger drone flight cages for next year. I've been using these feeders, which are absolutely fantastic, as I showed you we were making them. And the bees absolutely adore this pollen sub I've been giving. That'll all be gone in 2 or 3 days. The feeders work brilliantly with this extra square around. We get no drowned bees in the feeder, but I'm not feeding at the moment because there's just no point. You know, all I'm doing is giving pollen sub, but they don't really need that. I'm just using that bit of pollen sub up because I had it in a bucket and I wanted to just get it out the way and used. We'll start feeding pollen sub in about 2 weeks after the flow. That's like the end of July. But that's what I've learned, that giving pollen sub, for example, to your drone colonies that has lots of nurse bees in, gives those nurse bees something to feed the drones with. It gives that protein in the colonies so they don't store and the queen doesn't chuck out all the drones. Little things like that make a massive difference, because when you have drones in an apiary and you've got queens you're trying to mate openly, if you have good quality drones but everyone else is binned out, you win. It's a win-win situation. So I'm going to stop there. I've been talking a lot. I just really wanted to put this across. I just wanted to say that I'm so excited about this project. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'll keep you updated how I can. And I'm not going to forget about the basics of beekeeping, because the number one thing is I've learned an awful lot by doing my videos and doing a report on what I'm doing and how I do it, because I've had great interaction with other people, and that's been for me a fundamental learning. So I'm not going to kind of stop the videos because I'm doing inseminations and now therefore I'm way above harvesting honey. That is still a massive part of it. I have to be profitable. I have to be able to do all those skills, and I want to get better at it. I want to get more efficient at it. I want to carry on making nukes better. I want to learn how to stop swarming more. I want to learn how to produce queens even better, even though I feel I've kind of bagged on a lot about queen rearing a lot, but I still love doing it. It's just, this gives me an opportunity to really be part of something huge, and it really will be huge in the beekeeping world. So bye for now. I'll catch you again soon, and whatever you're doing, enjoy your bees. Bye bye.